Hey everyone, Rabbit Hedgehog here, and we want to thank our sponsors before the start of this video. Shout out to Law Tigers out there riding with us right now, but standing with us in the event of an accident. Need custom racing leathers or gear for the everyday ride? AGVSportUSA is here for that, and based out of Argyle, Texas, and serving riders nationwide. Also, we want to thank Doug Crawford, an independent AMSOIL dealer, for providing us with the fluids that keep our machines running well on into the future. Visit the description below for web links and contact details to get in touch with them today. Hello and welcome to the Rabbit Hedgehog Moto Vlog and also Indian Motorcycle of Oklahoma City. And today I'm taking out another used motorcycle from Indian Motorcycle of Oklahoma City. And I promise you, not all of our used bikes are 2022s, but for some deranged reason, we got another 2022. So did the 2022 KTM 890, 2022 Aprilia Tawano 1100. But today we're going to step down a little bit and we're going to go to the 2022 KLX 300SM. SM standing for Supermoto. What's the difference of the Supermoto versus the regular KLX? Well, you do away with the bigger 21-inch front end and you go down to a standard size for the street, usually a 17-inch or so, with street tires. So a little bit different setup than your typical KLX. Now the KLX 300 came out and replaced the KLX 250. The 250 was a little bit different in terms of how it did things because it was carbureted. It was a little bit older school design. The KLX 300 comes in and essentially updates everything, kind of modernizes everything, and of course ups the capacity of the motorcycle to 300. Now this engine produces something around 24 horsepower and 15.5 foot-pounds of torque, so it's not exactly the most powerful thing in the world, but it doesn't have to be. That's the thing. This is a simple motorcycle to get into. It doesn't have all the wizardry and trickery of many other types of motorcycles. Now the nice thing is this is a brutally simple motorcycle. The last couple that we've taken out are very high-end machines with lots and lots of technology on them. Takes a rocket scientist to ride. This one's essentially just bringing out the hammer. So simple in what it does. What we have here is a mode button that controls the odometer here. So that was main odometer, trip A, trip B, and back to regular odometer. The reset button next to it will reset those trip A and trip B. You have a clock. You have tachometer, you have speed, you have service engine, fuel light, coolant temperature, bright, and turn signal. You have just a regular switch here. You have manual operated turn signals, one kill switch, one starter. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Now these bikes only weigh 304 pounds, so these are very light machines. They are designed off of the platform, of course, that is more of a dual sport. Supermotos are that dual sport for the road going tires. They're not knobbies, so that way it smooths everything out and makes things happier. Has about a 2-gallon gas tank. Due to the small engine, gets very good gas mileage, so that two gallons will actually last you a good 150 or so miles. But they're quiet, unsophisticated, and just overall as simple of a motorcycle as you can get. So we're going to talk about here the friction zone. I love Kawasaki clutches. They're always so light. And this one goes out to exactly 3 and begins the process of getting into your friction zone. So not bad at all there. All right, let's go ahead and take this thing for a ride. A little cramped here today to get out, but we can do it. Now, personally, Rabbit Hedgehog here has had a ton of time in the saddle on Kawasaki KLX models, mostly the 250, the old carbureted version of this motorcycle. And I really, really like these motorcycles. I have been on both the full dual sport and supermoto version of the 250, and very familiar with how they are and how they act. Braking is really nice on these. Of course, it's such a light motorcycle, it doesn't take too much to stop these guys. Transmission shifts real nicely. Of course, you're nice and tall up here on this motorcycle, so you have a very commanding view of the road. And of course, being that it is designed off of a off-road platform, you can stand up, do all that good stuff because you have a true mid-mount position on where your feet are. So you sit on this thing nicely, you can tuck in pretty nicely, despite the fact that I'm 6 foot tall and a large person for such a small motorcycle. I don't feel cramped at all. Of course, you have a nice flat seat all the way back, so you don't have to worry about things that catch you and do weird things and push you forward. It just kind of goes with it. Track's nice and true through those turns there. Real flickable chassis. Really love supermotos because they are a lovely machine and they are very forgiving to older and newer riders alike. They just do really well and are super forgiving and super lightweight and just not overbearing on power, but they have enough to do what you're looking to do. Think of it as a tractor in a sense. I don't mind if I do. I'd rather him up there get going from here so I don't have to be stuck behind him for very long. I want to get up to speed a little bit better than that. So, when talking about the seating position on this one, you are basically upright on it. I mean, it is exactly what you would expect from an off-road derived dual sport style motorcycle. So my feet come back between my hip and my knee there. So like I said, a true mid-mount for me. And that way when you stand up, your knee extends and you're just straight down to the peg, so that way you can stand on it. Then your hip comes back straight up to your shoulder. Your shoulders then drop your arm, and then you have a nice bend in your elbows to the handlebars, which are nice and wide and give you very good leverage over the motorcycle. And that's what you need for off-roading and or some fun street riding. These motorcycles are quite often seen on tracks and some other things that are not the big tracks, but the little ones that are shared with go-karts and some other things, because these little bikes are fantastic for just throwing around and having a good time with. Or you'll see these quite a bit on certain MSF courses because they are used for training. And that's where I'm more familiar with them, is through the MSF courses. We had 3 of these. We had 2 KLX standards and 1 SM 250 versions that we used to train new riders on. We have about a 10,500 red line, so you can get it screaming. Goes off the line against regular traffic just fine, no big deal there. Of course, you got 6 speeds to work with on this motorcycle, and they're pretty tall gears, so you are able to get as much power out of the 300 engine as you get up to speed. And now that we're up on highway speed, we are at 65 miles an hour. Make sure I'm in top gear. I am in 6th gear. And we are at 6,800 RPMs at 65 miles an hour or so. So it is getting close to the end of its red line, but you're not expected to go that fast on a 300. But some of these are still relatively quick, but I believe this one's geared out to top out and exhaust itself around 90. Vibrations throughout the bike are what you expect from riding a single. You feel quite a bit in the foot pegs, you get quite a bit in the handlebar, and you get some buzzing into the mirrors and everything. But you know what? Again, for me, I don't mind that. I am somebody who likes to ride a machine and know that I am riding a machine. And I have had many a buzzy bikes that have been buzzier than this, that's for sure. For a 300 single, this one is pretty tame. Got a 500 V-twin that was way more vibey than this. Of course, it was a 79. I've had my XT250, which was fairly close to this, but the XT250 couldn't really get to highway speeds. It would not hold 70 miles an hour very well. It might get to 75 indicated, but I promise you it didn't stay there for very long with my weight on it. This one has travel, which is appreciated. That was one thing I wish I could do with my XT250, was if I was gonna go trail riding at a distant place, I would have loved to be able to ride there and then hop on the trail and enjoy the trail for a little bit and ride back. And it ended up being treated kind of like a dirt bike. I had to load it up, get to the trail, ride the trail, load it back up, and come home. Because it just didn't quite have the power to make it comfortably to the destination to crawl around and have fun with. It made for kind of an annoying day. But this one has the ability to hold the interstate just right. Mirrors are clean and visible. I can see just fine around me. Again, being taller, I do like that because I have a nice commanding view of the road. I can see everything around me, and it is all good. Hey, look, today our winds are maybe around 10. We got a little bit less wind today, so that's good news. The seat is pretty cushy. Again, you can move around on it. Like, you can sit back, sit forward, jump on the tank, kind of go around. Of course, it gives you nice leverage, and you can bounce around as well, as you can see. But that's a hallmark of being a good off-road bike, being able to shift your weight around with no problem, and it doesn't upset the chassis of the motorcycle, but it allows you to get in position to best do what you're working on. And again, if you're actually, you know, racing this little motorcycle, it's good to be able to balance that weight around as well. You know, this thing even holds speed better than my old Royal Enfield 350 Meteor. And it has a lot more that it can do. Like, I can actually go past the 70 mile an hour mark. Again, a good thing. I love small motorcycles. They're simple, they're easy to operate, and cheap to operate because they get good fuel mileage. And they do really well. They're not overcomplicated. They just make your life better because they're fun. This is a perfect little just commuter bike. I mean, you could just hop on this thing, put a milk crate on the back, and go around town exploring and getting your errands done, picking up a few things, and it'll just be so happy to do so. The fueling on this is really nice. And the compression braking on it is quite nice as well. Back off there, of course, whenever you are such a small engine, usually compression braking is pretty good. Downshifts are wonderful, as well as the upshifts. Like I said, the clutch is super light, engages right at the 3, so it literally is about as perfect as you can get. It corners so good. It likes to be wound up too. Of course, its power band is much higher than the lower end that we are doing right now. See what I mean? It has enough get up and go. I think I'm in 3rd right now. And that's a very tall 3rd gear. All right, back onto the interstate. Yep, that was 3rd gear earlier. So yeah, it does have a very nice tall 3rd gear. It can actually get up to close to highway speed in it. Do get very vibe heavy right at the top end of it and everything, but what's, you know, the problem with that engine is tiny. It's revving out, it's running out of air. I totally understand. I do the same thing. But it rides super nice. I mean, this is just a very solid riding machine here. Going into the wind, like I said, about 10 miles an hour or so today. Not too bad, but you do feel a little bit more wind on a bike this light. So as you're going into the wind, you'll definitely feel a little bit of sailing on it. I mean, you are top heavy. You do have kind of a slab side, so if you get a crosswind, you'll definitely know. And you'll have to steer into it. You'll have to match that input and some other things. I've been on plenty of these motorcycles. I know how they handle in windy conditions. And with their lightweight, their narrow wheels, their slab sides, they always have a little bit more drag to them when going into the wind. However, I mean, I could still get accelerated out. I could still get up to speed pretty decently going into the wind, despite the fact of my weight. I'm 200 pounds. Going into the wind as a sail for this thing, it's still just going right along, doing a good job. I mean, these things are fantastic, and they're great for everything and everyone. If you're looking to hone your skills as an experienced rider and get a bike that allows you to flick it and do some things that you've never been comfortable to doing, because it has a very tall lean angle, and you're able to ride around and do some things that most of your other street bikes can't do, because A, if you take this one to the limit on the street, it's not filling any speed by any means. It's not going to ever get there, really. I mean, unless you're going through a 35 mile an hour zone at 70. More than likely, you're not going to be doing that. But if you're at highway speed, this bike is going to allow you to ride it to its limits near highway or at highway speed, because that's all it's got. That is why I love these bikes. That's why there's a place for these bikes. It's because they simply work and do what you need them to do. They don't do anything beyond it. And you can use the whole thing. All these other bikes that exist with all the horsepower and all the amazing performance numbers in the world simply are not usable in 100% that way, unless you go tracking, unless you're constantly doing it. Whereas this one, you can. And you spend nothing. These bikes are generally well under $10,000. Super simple to pick up, cheap to insure, cheap to fuel, but loads of fun. I mean, loads of fun. And that's why you get a bike like this. Or its other brother that's got the knobby tires. That way you can do things that you normally would be afraid to take your other bikes on because it's an expensive drop. This one, it's a couple of plastics that you replace, and it's back to new again. It's rugged, it's tough, it's designed to take the spills, it's designed to learn on, it's designed to get better on. And that's a great platform and great motorcycle. And I love this thing. It's so comfortable. It's doing really well in traffic. Like I said, super good gas mileage. Heat, there's some heat coming off the engine a little bit. I can feel it with my knees and my inner thigh there, but you know, that's because the way the air is scooped in and where it's dissipating. If I pull my legs out and let it go, no heat there. So if I'm just cruising, not a big deal. If I'm getting into the tight stuff, yeah, I'm gonna get a little bit hotter, but I will. I've been on far worse. But this is just a happy little machine doing what it's doing. And if you're in a state that allows you to do lane splitting and everything, the narrow profile is just so perfect for that as well. It just zips in and out of traffic with ease. And of course, with its long travel suspension, it is perfect for awful roads. It is a little soft in some tighter turns, yes, because of that, but modulate, man. But it makes it super comfortable on broken concrete, bigger chug holes and awful roads. It tracks real nicely on those. It's nice straight lines. Like I said, it might get a little soft in some of the more aggressive turns, but other than that, no, it's perfect for what we got here. And that's why there's many of these guys running around. And the braking, like I said, is just perfect for this bike. It just works super well between engine compression braking, regular braking, and everything. Go ahead and pull in back here again so I can kind of give you my thoughts here. All right, so when it comes down to the 2022 KLX 300 Supermoto, what a fun little motorcycle. It's a motorcycle that is designed, like I said, to go with you for a long time. You can buy it as a beginner bike and you can take it with you through all your beginnings. If you're going to be a beginner rider on the road, even a beginner rider on the dirt, if you get the other version, beginner rider on the track, it can kind of follow you all the way through that progression. But also it can do very good in the city. Very good gas mileage, sips the fuel, and you can get in and out of traffic really well, handles the stop and go traffic really well. It's super comfortable. It's super lightweight too. So at 304 pounds, this thing is nothing to hold up in the city. So if you're constantly in stop and go, it's not a big deal. With the suspension it's got, it's a very lightly sprung motorcycle. The seat height is pretty tall, but I still flat foot on both sides with a bend to my knee as well. But that's because I'm heavier and I compress the springs down. But you know, it starts tall, compresses down, and may not be as formidable to a newer rider as some. So when it comes down to highway speeds, I mean, this thing holds highway perfectly. It's able to go to most of the highway speeds, 70, 75, you know, without any problem. I've been on multiple motorcycles that simply cannot do that. they're stuck at like 70 and or less even. So this is perfect in that it does handle the highway speeds beautifully. With the suspension on it as well, you just kind of float over all the bumps and everything, and the seat is nice and plush. I mean, will it eventually wear on you? Yeah, these usually over soft seats do kind of wear on you over time, but for the most part, because you're able to move back and forth and shift your weight and do some things on this motorcycle, because that flat seat, it is going to actually be more comfortable than you would expect over even a longer ride. So, like I said, braking is really good on it. Suspension's really good on it. The acceleration is what you expect. I mean, yeah, I'm not expecting the fastest thing in the world, but the thing is, I can still outrun traffic off the line. I can still get to 60, 70 miles an hour in a reasonable time. Getting up on the highway, you want to be able to do that, match the speed of the people around you, and get going. This thing could do that, and that's all you want to ask of it. Ergonomics, like I said, it's as simple as a hammer. So you don't have to worry about all these different things or ride modes or anything like that. You simply jump on the motorcycle, start it, and operate it. That is a very welcome thing. In my life, I like simplicity. So yeah, gauge is fairly readable. It does kind of get washed out every now and again with the sun. Depending on what you get on the angle, it does wash out. So I do know that sometimes it gets a little hard to read on that. It is backlit with a blue light. It's hard to see, of course, during the day, but once you get at night, you'll see that. And it works good at night, though. It's a very good light for that. So at any rate, do I recommend the KLX 300SM? Absolutely. Do I welcome KLX 300SM? I welcome all sorts of bikes. Like I said, I like the XT250. I miss that bike quite a bit. I miss a bike like this in my life. Very much so. So great motorcycle. This one's still for sale here. I'll put the link in the description below if it's still available. That link will be live. If not, then I will take that link down, and then that way it is gone. But if you're looking for a solid bike that can do just about everything you can think of, I'd recommend looking at a Kawasaki KLX 300. So at any rate, this is the Rabbit Hedgehog. I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsors, AGVSportUSA, for providing us with the gear that keeps us safe while we're riding. And I also want to thank Law Tigers of Oklahoma for being out there supporting our community and supporting us in time of need. And also Doug Crawford and USA Synthetics and his Amsoil distribution. We appreciate his work within the community as well, and also protecting our engines from harmful contaminants and keeping the insides nice and clean and ready to ride for a long time to come. So at any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks, and we'll catch you on the next ride.